The Cleveland Browns locker room is buzzing. The sports world is split right down the middle, and if you've been anywhere near Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok over the past few days, you already know why. Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime's son, college football phenom, and now rookie quarterback for the Cleveland Browns just got hit with the kind of plot twist that could have ended his preseason hype in an instant. During joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning NFC champions, Shedeur strained his oblique. And in the blink of an eye, the conversation flipped from, "Is this kid ready to take over?" to, "See? He's not built for the NFL." Keyboard warriors wasted zero time. The same people who were quiet after his jaw-dropping performance against the Carolina Panthers were suddenly everywhere, typing up hot takes like it was a holiday. Another overhyped college player. Fifth-round pick for a reason. Guess we can stop pretending now. But then, something unexpected happened. Stephen A. Smith. Yes, that Stephen A., the king of hot takes on ESPN's First Take, stepped in and did something nobody saw coming. He defended Shedeur. Not in a casual, give the kid a break kind of way. This was a full-throttle, passionate, stand-on-the-table defense that stopped the internet mid-scroll. And here's the twist that's got everybody talking. Stephen A. didn't just defend Shedeur's talent. He suggested this injury might actually be the best thing that could have happened to him. Now, let's just pause for a second. Think about how rare this is. An analyst like Stephen A., who has built his career on being blunt, calling out players, and never sugarcoating reality, turns around and says, "This might be a blessing in disguise." On the surface, it sounds ridiculous. How could getting sidelined before a huge preseason game possibly be good, especially when you were just coming off one of the most impressive rookie performances of the week? But the more you dig into it, the more this starts to make sense. And the more it becomes clear that Stephen A. might actually be right. See, here's the reality. Before the injury, Shedeur was riding a massive wave of momentum. The Browns were set to face the Eagles in a high-profile preseason matchup, a game that could have given Shedeur the chance to prove his Carolina Panthers performance wasn't a fluke. Even if he was going against second- or third-string defenders, another big showing could have had his name splashed across every sports headline in America. But there's a flip side to that kind of momentum. Too much hype, too soon, can be deadly, especially for a rookie quarterback stepping into one of the toughest early season schedules in the league. And that's where this blessing in disguise theory starts to get interesting. Because here's what Stephen A. and the other analysts are hinting at. Maybe this injury is actually protecting Shedeur from getting thrown into a situation that could crush his confidence before it even has a chance to grow. Think about it. The Browns opened the season with a manageable Week 1 against Cincinnati, and then it's straight into a gauntlet of playoff teams Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. That's a murderer's row for any quarterback, let alone a rookie fifth-round pick. If Shedeur had lit up the Eagles this weekend, the calls for him to start Week 1 would have been deafening. And if he got thrown into that 5-game stretch too early, even the most talented rookie could have been left battered physically and mentally. Instead, the injury forces the Browns to slow things down. Joe Flacco, the veteran, will handle the brutal early part of the season. Shedeur gets more time to learn, prepare, and pick his moment. And when that moment comes, the schedule will be lighter, the fans will be hungry for change, and the stage will be perfectly set. That's the case Stephen A. is making, and whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny. It's a fascinating way to look at this situation. And in just a minute, we're going to break down exactly why this moment, as frustrating as it might feel right now, could be the turning point in Shedeur Sanders' NFL career. To understand the buzz surrounding Shedeur Sanders and why his appearance on the Pat McAfee show became such a big deal, you first have to rewind the tape a little. We need to step back and look at the momentum this young quarterback has been building, not just this season, but over the past year. Coming into the season, Shedeur wasn't just another college football player. He was already carrying the weight of expectation on his shoulders. The son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Primetime Sanders, Shedeur had a name that was instantly recognizable. But here's the thing about having a famous last name. It opens doors, but it also puts you under a microscope. Every play, every throw, every decision on the field, all of it gets dissected and magnified. And Shedeur knew that if he was going to step out of his father's shadow, he needed to prove himself on his own merit. Then came that dominant performance that had everyone talking. You could feel it in the stadium that day, the energy, the anticipation, the sense that something special was about to happen. Shedeur didn't just play well, he commanded the field like a seasoned pro. His passes were sharp, his pocket presence was calm, and his leadership was undeniable. Whether it was threading the needle between defenders or making smart, calculated plays under pressure, Shedeur showed the poise and precision of a quarterback who understood the game at a deeper level. What made this performance so significant was the timing. The team had been coming off a string of tough games, and morale wasn't at its peak. Fans wanted a reason to believe again, and Shedeur delivered exactly that. His stats from that game told one story: multiple touchdowns, high completion percentage, minimal mistakes, but the intangible factors told an even bigger one. He played with confidence, grit, and that unteachable quality all great leaders have: the ability to inspire everyone around them. From that point on, the narrative shifted. Instead of just being Dion's son, Shedeur became a headline in his own right. Analysts on ESPN, Fox Sports, and countless podcasts were suddenly breaking down his mechanics, comparing his playing style to NFL quarterbacks, and debating how high his draft stock could rise. Social media lit up with clips of his highlight throws, fans quoting his post-game interviews, and even rival supporters admitting, "Yeah, that kid can ball." But it wasn't just about raw talent. What made Shedeur's momentum so captivating was the way he carried himself. He wasn't out there pounding his chest after every play or trying to grab all the attention. Instead, he combined quiet confidence with a competitive fire that was impossible to ignore. You could see it in the way he interacted with his teammates, patting a lineman on the back after a big block, hyping up the receivers after a successful drive, and maintaining composure even when a play didn't go as planned. Off the field, his interviews began to show a player who was grounded, yet hungry for more. He spoke about preparation, discipline, and constantly improving qualities that set apart those who have a good season from those who build a legendary career. It's this professionalism, mixed with his undeniable skill, that started to make even skeptical fans believe he was the real deal. By the time he made his appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Shedeur wasn't just riding a wave of hype, he was in control of it. That dominant performance became the launching pad, the proof point, and the rallying cry for his supporters. It was the moment that turned potential into momentum and momentum into a movement. The moment Shedeur Sanders appeared on the Pat McAfee show, social media lit up like wildfire. What might have been a simple sports talk segment quickly spiraled into a trending moment, all because of one detail: his wrist. Shedeur's wrist, supported in a sling-like position and noticeably stiff, became the focal point of online conversation. Fans, analysts, and even casual sports followers zeroed in, eager to decode what it meant. Was it an injury? A statement? A playful stunt? Or simply a coincidence? No one could say for sure, and the lack of immediate clarification only fueled the speculation. Within hours, screenshots of Shedeur on the show flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Zoomed-in images of his hand placement, slowed-down video clips, and amateur injury analysis breakdowns became the trending content of the day. Sports radio stations quickly picked up on the chatter. By late afternoon, segments titled, "What's Going On with Shedeur's Wrist?" popped up across multiple markets. Local stations in Colorado and national sports networks alike debated possible explanations. Some argued that it was an intentional show of toughness, a subtle signal that he'd been playing through pain. Others believed it was a quiet jab at critics, a "look what I'm dealing with and still dominating" message. A few even speculated it might be unrelated to football altogether, possibly the result of a workout mishap or personal accident. In the fast-moving world of sports media, perception can shift in an instant. Before this moment, the narrative around Shedeur had been centered on his on-field dominance. His impressive performance in the previous game was still fresh in fans' minds, a display of precision passing, poise under pressure, and leadership beyond his years. But now, attention had been diverted. The conversation shifted from "how good was Shedeur on Sunday?" to "is Shedeur hiding an injury?" This was not lost on sports analysts, who know all too well how quickly narratives can be rewritten. ESPN, Fox Sports, and Bleacher Report all ran stories within hours, some hedging that managing expectations isn't just for the public, it also applies internally. Veterans, especially those who fought for starting jobs, can feel tension when a young player suddenly starts getting a lot of attention. A balanced locker room culture is crucial, ensuring that excitement about the future doesn't overshadow the contributions of the current starters. Coaches often stress that football is a meritocracy. Playing time is earned through consistent performance in practice and games, not through media buzz. This reinforces to the team that hype alone doesn't change the depth chart. The role of the coaching staff. It falls on the coaching staff to insulate young players from the noise. This includes limiting distractions by keeping them focused on the next practice or game plan rather than future projections, providing constructive feedback that highlights both strengths and areas for growth, setting short-term goals so progress can be measured incrementally rather than in leaps and bounds. By framing development in small, manageable steps, coaches help young players avoid feeling overwhelmed by the gap between where they are and where the public expects them to be. Ultimately, managing expectations is about patience from fans, media, teammates, and the player themselves. The NFL is littered with examples of quarterbacks who were thrown into action too soon and never fully recovered from early struggles. Conversely, some of the league's most successful QBs benefited from time to learn in the shadows before stepping into the spotlight. For a promising young quarterback, the best way to meet and eventually exceed expectations is to grow at the right pace. That means embracing the process, ignoring the noise, and letting their talent mature under the right circumstances. In the high-stakes world of football, talent alone doesn't guarantee job security. A player can be performing at a high level one week and find themselves buried on the depth chart the next. This reality is not only shaped by on-field performance, but also by the intricate and sometimes frustrating politics that govern roster decisions. For players on the fringe of the starting lineup, every snap is a double-edged sword. A good performance can push them up the depth chart, but one mistake, a missed block, a dropped pass, or a blown coverage can undo weeks of hard work. Coaches may talk about competition and earning your spot, but the truth is that once a depth chart is set, it's often resistant to change unless injuries or dramatic performances force the issue. A quarterback, for example, could deliver an impressive preseason outing, but still remain QB3 or QB4 because the staff has already invested years of development into others ahead of him. Job security is often tied to how much a team has invested in a player, whether in draft capital, contract value, or public commitment. That means a late-round pick or undrafted player has to work exponentially harder to displace someone the team has more at stake in. Every coaching staff has its own philosophy about how the depth chart should be structured. Some prefer to let meritocracy rule, moving players up or down purely based on performance. Others lean heavily on experience and trust, meaning that even if a younger, more athletic player is outperforming a veteran in practice, the veteran may still keep his spot simply because the staff trusts him to make fewer mistakes in high-pressure situations. In the quarterback room, this dynamic is magnified. Coaches tend to prioritize stability and consistency over short bursts of excellence. A backup quarterback may be more talented than the starter in certain areas, arm strength, mobility, or improvisation, but if he hasn't yet shown mastery of the playbook or the ability to read defenses at game speed, he might not move up. Many players quietly acknowledge the existence of a depth chart ceiling. This is the invisible line that dictates how far a player can realistically rise in a given season, regardless of performance. The ceiling is often tied to organizational politics: who drafted the player, who lobbied for them, and what internal narratives the team has built around them. For instance, if a team spent a first-round pick on a quarterback just a year ago, the front office may be hesitant to let a less heralded backup overtake him. Doing so could be interpreted as admitting they made a mistake in their investment, something executives try to avoid for both financial and reputational reasons. Injuries are often the great equalizer in depth chart politics. A player who has been stuck behind a starter for months can suddenly get their shot when an injury occurs. However, the timing has to be perfect, and so does the performance. If they thrive in that limited window, they can potentially secure a more permanent spot. If they stumble, the opportunity can vanish just as quickly as it appeared. The cruel part is that sometimes, even strong performances in relief don't move the needle if the coaching staff is determined to return to their original plan once the injured starter recovers. That's why for many backups, the mantra is simple: stay ready so you don't have to get ready. While fans see names on a list, depth chart movement affects livelihoods, family stability, and mental health. A demotion doesn't just bruise an ego, it can mean fewer game day checks, diminished career prospects, and reduced chances of earning a future contract. For players already on the edge of the roster, the politics of the depth chart can determine whether they're still in the league next year or watching from home. Coaches, for their part, often walk a tightrope between rewarding performance and maintaining the broader strategic plan. They know that promoting one player means demoting another, and that decision can ripple through the locker room, affecting morale and chemistry. In professional football, job security and depth chart politics are inseparable realities. A player's spot isn't just about what happens between the whistles, it's about timing, trust, investment, and the invisible currents of organizational decision-making. Those who understand how to navigate these politics while consistently delivering on the field give themselves the best chance to survive and thrive in a profession where nothing is guaranteed. In the fast-paced, high-pressure environment of the NFL, fans and analysts often focus on the next game, the next week, or at most, the rest of the season. But organizations with a clear vision understand that success is not just about the immediate result, it's about building a sustainable, winning culture over years. The Cleveland Browns' handling of this situation appears to be exactly that, a move influenced by long-term thinking rather than short-term reactions. One of the key elements in the Browns' approach is player development away from the public eye. In professional football, the gap between practice reps and live game reps is massive. The Browns may see greater value in allowing certain players, particularly those lower on the depth chart, to refine their skills in a controlled environment without being prematurely thrown into high-pressure scenarios. This protects them from potentially damaging, confidence-shaking performances and allows coaching staff to correct mistakes before they matter in the win-loss column. For quarterbacks and other high-impact positions, the mental side of development is as crucial as the physical. The Browns may be giving players more time in the film room, more one-on-one work with position coaches, and targeted reps in specific situations. By doing this, they can shape them into more complete, adaptable athletes who will be ready to contribute at a high level in the future. NFL teams also think about asset management. If a player is still considered raw or inconsistent, giving them more live action can either boost or hurt their trade value. A string of poor performances could make the rest of the league view them as a risky bet. The Browns may believe it's smarter to limit game tape until the player is fully prepared, maintaining an aura of potential. This way, whether they choose to keep the player long-term or use them as part of a future trade, they retain leverage. It's a chess move, not checkers. Every appearance affects how other teams, agents, and media perceive that player's trajectory. The Browns also have to think about succession planning. NFL rosters are volatile due to injuries, contract negotiations, and free agency moves. By carefully structuring who plays when, they can prepare a reliable bench for the years ahead. That means ensuring backups are truly capable starters if needed, not just in emergency situations, but in a sustainable season-long capacity. Even if a player looks ready now, rushing them into the starting role could cause wear and tear or expose flaws that could be addressed with another year of development. Instead, Cleveland may be playing the long game to ensure when they do step in, they're fully ready to seize the role for years. Long-term planning in the NFL is deeply tied to salary cap management. Once a young player becomes a starter and excels, their market value skyrockets. The Browns' front office might be timing playing opportunities to align with contract windows, maximizing their control over negotiations and ensuring they can manage the cap without being forced into expensive extensions prematurely.